Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History, where we explore the times, events, and people surrounding Elvis Presley. Thank you for choosing this video. In today's episode, we meet Bob Smith, Elvis's grandpa. Here you can see a picture of a corn and cotton sharecropper cabin in Jacksonville, Mississippi, that would be very much like the cabin that Bob was born in. On March 24th, 1878, Robert Lee Smith was born in the town of Saltillo, located in Lee County, Mississippi, to parents Mileage Obadiah Obe and Ann Lillian Mansell Smith. Robert, known by friends and family as Bob, was Mileage and Ann's second child. Bob's older brother, William Thomas Smith, affectionately referred to as W.T., was born 2 years previously in 1876. Obe and Ann were also raising Ann's son, James Cowley Smith, born in 1872, prior to their marriage. And here you can see a map of Lee County. You can see that Tupelo's in the middle. Saltillo is north of it, and north of Saltillo is Guntown, so you can get a good idea of exactly where Bob lived. Obe and Ann had married on December 13th, 1874, when Obe was about 37. There is some confusion about Ann's age, but she was most likely in her late 20s. Records also conflict about Ann's relationship with James' father, some saying there was no formal relationship, meaning James was born outside of wedlock, others stating Ann was a widow, which is the most probable possibility. Ann was a dignified woman with unalterable expectations of appropriate social behavior, a lady who never left the house without her black hat worn perfectly level and her back ramrod straight. With darker than average skin and black hair beginning to gray under the difficult living conditions of pre-industrial farm life, Ann had a striking and memorable physical appearance. And here we can see a depiction of young Obe Smith. The couple had 4 more children. Son Howard Holly Jefferson in 1880, daughter Ena Bell in 1883, son John Henry in 1886, and daughter Tabitha in 1888. And here we can see a picture of Ann Lillian Mansell Smith, and we can see the entire family tree of Bob Smith. You can see there's a total of 7 children. Obe struggled for the next 20 years to maintain a roof over his family's head and food in their bellies. Never able to save up enough money to purchase land of their own, the Smiths never owned a house, similar to many other sharecropping families in the southern United States at the time. By 1900, Ann had moved from Saltillo to the Hussey Farm in Fawn Grove in Itawamba County, Mississippi, along with her 5 youngest children, 22-year-old Bob, 20-year-old Hall, 17-year-old Belle, 14-year-old John, and Tabby, the youngest at age 12. They left behind Obe and the 2 oldest boys, 28-year-old James and 24-year-old W.T. in Saltillo. Obe moved in with Cindy and Mary Mansell, Ann's sisters. In a federal census taken the same year in Fawn Grove, Ann described herself as widowed, even though Obe was alive and well, and living with her sisters in the other county. And here we can see a map of Saltillo, Tupelo, and Fawn Grove. Saltillo is up at the north, and you can see it's got a red dot, and Fawn Grove is the green dot. So this gives you a good idea of where they did live and where they moved to. Bob was a happy, merry man, tall and handsome, with blue eyes and the dark hair and features of his mother. Described by all who knew him as a good man, Bob was raised as a cotton farmer. He knew how to plant, how to grow, and how to harvest strong, healthy crops of all kinds. He possessed carpentry skills and was able to work diligently at odd jobs without direct supervision. Bob was the kind of man highly valued in hard-working communities like Fawn Grove, At 22 years old and unmarried, Bob would have caught the eye of every single woman in the town. Bob's future looked bright. And we can see a picture here of what was potentially the first automobile in Itawamba County, Mississippi, in the early 1900s, possibly the year 1900, which is the same year that Ann and Bob moved to Fawn Grove. And here we can see Bob, and you can see that he was a handsome man. If you see a resemblance between Bob and his grandson Elvis, please leave it in the comments below. Let us know what you see in Bob that you see in Elvis. I'd love to read that. And here we have a documentary called The Land of Cotton. It's a 1936 documentary, and you can see real cotton sharecroppers, their families, shacks, clothing, labor, and their struggles. Bob, Gladys, Vernon, and Elvis all planted, weeded, and picked cotton. Before he could walk, Gladys carried Elvis into the fields to harvest cotton. As a young boy in Tupelo, Elvis earned cash money picking cotton. Cotton was an important crop in Tupelo, and if you lived there, you dealt with cotton. So I think this is a great documentary, and it really puts you in the mindset of how Bob lived. This would have been filmed around the time that Elvis had just been born, so this would be the kind of work that Vernon and Gladys were actually doing at that moment. You know, we know Elvis was a Christian. We know Elvis sang gospel music, but did you know Elvis always traveled with his favorite Bible in his black box carried by one of the Memphis Mafia? Have you ever wondered how many Bibles the greatest entertainer of all time owned and gifted to others? Check out Hillbilly Cat History's guest appearance on Those Elvis Girls channel on YouTube to learn more. And if you want to use this link or the link for the documentary, you just need to travel to hillbillycathistory.wordpress.com. And you can read this article and click all of these links for yourself. And in our next article, we meet Elvis's grandma, Doll. Subscribe now. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for joining Hillbilly Cat History as we explored this piece of the Elvis Presley puzzle. Stop on by anytime so we can chat again.